where would you be without great coaching in your career and in your life?
Nowhere. I mean, yeah. No, my whole life is like, I've been really lucky with my coaches. Starting off with my parents, my first coaches in my life, they both taught me how to ski. And like I said, my mom, she's been my coach since I learned how to ski, but she traveled with me my first year in the World Cup. She still travels with me now. And she is like, people have a bit of a misunderstanding because it's like a frustrating thing for her and for me. People will go up to her and be like, when are you going to stop following Mikaela around? Like, what do you do all day when she's skiing? Like, she's on the hill. She's helping set the courses. She sets some of the courses herself. She videos. She's like pulling fence, setting fence. She's literally she's a ski coach. She's just employed by me, not the U.S. ski team.
Right.
So people like have a hard time wrapping their heads around it. And some of her friends even will be like, come on, like, come hang out with me more. Mikaela's fine. And they don't realize how much of an impact she has on my career and like my mental stability and just being able to exist in Europe for 6 or 7 months at a time without being home, without being like, I'm fairly familiar with most of Europe now, but you're still not home.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And that's something like trying to like inception people's minds so they get it, so they stop asking her those questions, because she's like, there's nothing like everyone around you making you feel like you're completely inconsequential and someone is like in your daughter's career, and who is she to say that she's like important, but I'm the one who says it, and it's like, oh
wow.
Anyway, so
sure.
So she's a very important coach.
So what's the biggest lesson your mom has taught you?
Okay, there's a lot, and this might not be the actually most important lesson, but pretty early on, she and my dad kind of set this philosophy that like things are worth doing. I don't know how to put this. It's more fun to do things if you can do them well. And there's a way to do them well so that it's fun. And it comes with like a methodical approach and studying and learning. And this could be with school. It could be like math is more fun when you understand it, and it takes a little work to understand it, but then it's like doing a puzzle that's actually fun. Or soccer, growing up with my brother, he's 2.5 years older than I am, and we both wanted to play soccer and try out for the local travel team in New Hampshire, and it was a really good team, and like we needed to practice. And my mom like helped us. She got the books and some DVDs, and we would study like different drills and soccer like things we could learn, and the Maradona and all these like fun tricks, and just like learn how to juggle a soccer ball, like the basics of that, learn how to dribble properly, learn how to like, then you practice working on speed, you practice running technique, all of those things. And it was a step-by-step like fundamentals. And we worked on that in the summer, and then we'd go back to our team in the fall. And especially my brother's coach, he was like, okay, Taylor is the Cinderella story of soccer, because he had a growth spurt the year before. He grew 1.5 feet.
Wow.
And he like lost the ability to run. And my mom brought him back. She taught him how to run again. She got him like coordination. She like bought him a unicycle to practice balance and all of these different things, like ways, because his whole goal was to get back on the team with his buddies. And he came back and he ended up being the fastest runner on the team, and his ball handling skills were like light years improved from what they were. And his coach was like, this is unbelievable. I've never seen something like this happen when a kid grows 1.5 feet, and it takes longer to get your coordination back than that.
Wow.
And my mom's like, yeah, well, that's what happens when you like work at it.
Sure.
But it was all fun stuff too. And like all summer long, Taylor and I would just play soccer together. And with skiing, it's the same. I mean, it's all like you learn the different skills and the fundamentals, and tennis too. Tennis is something we love. And it's so much fun to do it when you're playing well. And it actually stinks when you're not playing well. So that's kind of That's like a little bit of a family philosophy. And my mom just happens to be like the greatest teacher that I know. She just knows how to break down movements and explain it in a way that makes sense that people can learn. Like Taylor and I have a joke that she will see somebody struggling on the ski hill, and someone we don't know, just like someone public just skiing. She'll see them struggling, can't make it down a trail, and she'll go over to them and help them. And it's like the 5-minute crash course in how to become a World Cup skier. And by the end of that literal 5 minutes, getting down to the bottom of the trail, they're arcing turns and like enjoying it. And we're like, this is literally the difference between people doing the sport and not doing the sport, because it's brutal if you can't make it down the hill. And it is so fun if you know how to like carve some turns and you can get down. And that's like the motto of life, kind of.
What did she teach you during that season or seasons of high pressure with the media, or not winning as fast, or losing every once in a while? What did she teach you about managing stress, anxiety, overwhelm, and that psychological pressure?
Well, she actually encouraged me to start talking to a sports psychologist. And she set me up with somebody that we knew, actually a family friend, but also a psychologist. And she, like, for a long time, I felt like I don't need a sports psychologist because I am actually very mentally stable, and
you're winning.
And I'm winning, and I'm strong, and I've never felt pressure. Pressure wasn't something, like, I didn't really get nervous for the first bunch of years of my career. And
you were just having fun.
I was just having fun. Even at the Olympics and the Sochi Olympics, as standing at the start for the gold medal run, I was not nervous. Part of that, I was pretty sick, so it might have been a little bit distraction, but I was just like pretty, not even confident, just like at peace.
Really?
Yeah. And then I got into a phase where I got really nervous. I didn't know how to handle it. And my mom, she'd help me focus on things that were in my control. Like, she'd help me focus on skiing, the technical aspects, and just things that I could control.
As opposed to media or conversations or other athletes or
just like the random blips and thoughts that you get in your head throughout a race day. You know, race day it's wild, actually, in ski racing especially. It's a 9 to 10 hour day from the time you get out of bed to the time you get back to your hotel room after the race is over. And during that period of time, you have 2-minute-long intervals that are actually important. And the rest of it in 10 hours, the rest of it is sort of inconsequential, but also very important. But those 2 minutes, you need to be on and good. And it's like, sometimes you're like, how do I manage this? And your mind goes everywhere.
How do you prepare for those?
How do you prepare for it? How do you get through it? Your brain is like, the thoughts that run through my head on a race day, it's like, I don't know how to ski this. Well, I don't know the combination in a slalom course, like this flush, or in a downhill. Oh my gosh, downhill is crazy. My mind goes totally wild because you're going like something between 60 to 80 at any given moment, and then you're going off these jumps, and some of them carry pretty far. Like, women's races are typically around 20 to 40 meters, but there are some jumps where, like, I've gone 50, 55 meters, and ever since I was little, I had a kind of scary accident going off of a jump, and ever since then, I have like recurring images of myself falling off of a jump, like crashing backwards, hitting my head, helmet flies off, like my limbs are flinging around. And that is in a downhill without fail. When I see a jump, I'm like, I know that's not going to happen because I know what the technique needs to be. I'm solid in the air, but I have to like breathe and like focus myself. And I'll literally be in the course, racing it, skiing up to the jump, imagining myself messing it up.
Really?
Until the moment I go off and I'm like, nah, now or never. Like, you better do it right. Yeah.
What does the sports psychologist taught you about how to not fully eliminate the memory of pain from the past, of falling or potentially falling or whatever it might be, but how to know that's happened before so you're not reckless, but also be at peace knowing you've mastered skills to be prepared for this moment.
Yeah. Well, now I've worked with, since that first season where I started working with a sports psychologist, I've now worked with several different psychologists, couple different sports psychologists, and now actually just like a clinical overall psychologist. And
how helpful has that been?
It's been huge. And a lot of it was like learning things about myself that almost maybe got hidden over the years. Maybe I started to shift my focus from the things that were important to me to the things that seemed important to everyone else, and just finding a balance, because both, actually, I feel like both things are important. A lot of times we talk this day and age about self-care, self-love, and like just placing emphasis on what's important to you. But if there's people around you that you love, it's okay if their opinions matter to you as well. It's just like find the balance between what seems like it should be a priority, and you should prioritize yourself, but that doesn't mean that you discount what everyone else is saying. It's just like take it all with a grain of salt, do your own personal weighing situation, and come to your conclusion based off what you think is most important. But I didn't necessarily have the balance at that time. So with my first sports psychologist, we worked on finding a balance of what's like important to me versus what's important to the media, or how like I started doing some media prep questions. Like we would figure out what people might say that would trigger me and give me that. It's not just puking. It's feeling like you're choking. That's what it is. It like triggers, not that anyone wants to know this, but it triggers a gag reflex, but it literally feels like the collar of your shirt is too tight and you have this pressure point right here, like your food stuck in your throat. And that just like, that triggers it.
Will make you throw up.
Yeah. And
you were trying to figure out what's causing that choking.
I'm like, why do I feel like something's closing in on my throat right now? Because there's literally like, if you see me in the start, it still happens sometimes, but it doesn't scare me anymore. Like if I pull down my race suit, sometimes it feels like it's right there in my throat, and I'll take my fingers and I'll just pull down my race suit like this. And that's normally a sign that I'm feeling nervous, but I don't mind it. It doesn't necessarily trigger like me to go off on the side and like puke or whatever. I'm just like, oh, I need a little space in my throat, and I'm comfortable in that space now. But it took me like multiple psychologists to get to the level, like the last one I worked with, actually heading into the most recent Olympics. We were talking a lot about being comfortable, or getting comfortable being uncomfortable. And you're likely to be uncomfortable when you don't know what the outcome of something is going to be.
Right.
And
you're not in control.
You're not in control, and you want to be in control. And that was that's how I always used to. I didn't care what the outcome was. I really cared how I got there, and then we'll figure it out. Like when I cross the finish line, then we'll see if it was good enough to win or not. And
why do you care more now than you did then?
I actually think I've sort of come full circle a little bit. Now it's almost like when I was first starting out. And some of that probably has to do with this season and the record. Kind of because this season I was like, I never felt like I should have been the person who was close to resetting this record. It wasn't a goal. It wasn't on my radar actually ever. Like I watched like Lindsay get there, and I was like, that's happening for her. And I had never ever thought that I would be that one. So even getting that close this season, I was almost like, didn't want it to happen. I almost wanted Ingemar to stay the record holder for all of eternity.
Why? Why did you not want to break the record?
I just like,
Why did you want to diminish your own greatness?
well, I don't know. I guess I just felt like if it happened, then, well, if it happened, everybody would start calling me the greatest of all time. And I don't see myself that way. And it's like I do struggle a little bit when the world puts a label that doesn't coincide with my label for myself. So I'm like,
How do you label yourself?
I don't even know. Mikaela Shiffrin. Like, I got a name. I don't know. The GOAT term is just like weird to me. And I feel like there's more than one. And the term itself, it implies that there's only one, but there are more than one. Like, people will debate LeBron James, Michael Jordan, like any of the others for the rest of eternity. And I think that's good. I think that's a beautiful thing about sports and skiing. I hope that people debate, I'm part of the conversation. Like, that in and of itself is enough of a win for me. But I hope people debate it for the rest of all time. Like, I hope it's part of the conversation that 2 American women are at the top of the conversation for greatest of all time. Like, that's really cool. That's really cool for American ski racing, for our sport, for lifting the sport up in the US. And I don't want to take that title. Like, I want it to be the conversation, because the conversation means people are talking about it and interested. And I just don't see myself taking that over. And I want Ingemar, like, I want him to be the legend that never, like, his name never ever disappears from the sport, because he set the sport on the trajectory it is. So there's all these reasons why I, like, was sort of conflicted about that. Yeah. But in the end of the day, I just felt like, well, I'm not retiring. I'm doing well at this right now. If I keep skiing this way, I probably will break the record realistically.
Right.
Probably reset. I don't like the break term either. Reset the record.
Not in skiing. You don't want to say break in skiing.
Don't say break. So realistically, it was going to happen. So it was like, whatever. It'll happen when it happens. And just like letting that go and just not caring about it, it was like the beginning of my career, when I sort of was just interested in finding out what my potential was.
Right. Less pressure and seeing what you're capable of every race. On a scale of 1 to 10, where would you say you're at currently with your level of inner peace and self-belief, confidence in yourself? 10 being the highest, 1 being the lowest.
Inner peace is probably somewhere around like a 5 to an 8 on any given day.
And self-confidence?
That's probably more like a 2.
Self-confidence at 2?
No, I'm not a very confident person.
It's low right now?
It just always is.
Why do you have low self-confidence, though, when you're constantly winning and also just performing at a high level consistently?
I don't know. I don't know. I just have like insecurities that I think everybody has them. I'm pretty comfortable not being extremely confident. And I actually, like, my argument, it might not be a very popular opinion, but I don't think confidence has to be part of it. Like, belief is important for sure. Believing more, because it just helps you have the courage to try. And that's the most important thing, if we're really getting down to the nitty gritty, is just having the courage to try despite the chance that you might fail. And you might fail publicly, and you might get a lot of backlash, and that's probably going to hurt. Like, knowing that the outcome could be incredibly terrible, you still need to go down that road and try. And that is the only confidence that I want to have. But I don't walk into a room. If I walk into a room full of people, I want to run the opposite direction.
Really?
And if I'm like, I just, like,
I'm glad when you walked in here, you gave me a hug and you didn't run away.
But that's because you came up to me and I was like, oh my God. And you're staying there like, you are literally 10 feet taller than I am. Like, it's like, my mind is immediately.
Are you afraid of people, or just environments with like crowds, or what's the insecurity about?
I may be a little bit more like introverted in nature, but I'm not sure. It's like the fear when you walk into I don't know if you ever had this, but I know some people have this, and anybody watching, like this dream you have, you walk into the cafeteria and then all of a sudden you're completely naked and everybody's looking at you. But it's more just like walk into a cafeteria and there's not a seat. There's no place for you to sit. And so I'm standing there and I'm holding my tray. And this was like a big issue for me at the ski academy I went to at Burke. If I didn't go to a meal with a friend, then I wouldn't go because I couldn't stand, or if I knew I was going to be the first person there, then okay. But if I was a little bit late, I would skip it entirely because I really was like, I cannot deal with the anxiety of standing there with my tray, looking around the room and having everybody sitting there having their conversations and nobody sees me. So nobody like opens up a chair for me to sit down. They all just, or worse, if somebody noticed me and like allows me to sit at their table, but they're people that I'm like, maybe they're some of the older students and I'm a little bit intimidated by them. Like, so I'm just standing there holding my tray like, oh my God, what do I do? And I will literally I will go eat in a bathroom stall before I have to deal with that. It's like the Mean Girls scene. It's like, it's a real thing.
Did something happen to you there at the academy that made you feel this way? Or is it just...
No, everybody was so like, we're all, I mean, it was 60 student athletes at the academy. Like, we're family. But I don't see like family in that scene. I see
like
I don't know, it's like blank face.
Or...
Yeah, rejection, whatever. Just.
Do you still feel that today?
Yeah, no, I don't love going places where I don't have like a wing, my wing woman, my wing man, like a friend, somebody. And then that helps me. Like the support I have around me gives me confidence. And the coaches I have, my mom being there, the team around me, that gives me a lot more confidence. But it definitely doesn't come from like myself or my self-esteem. I feel like in sports, people really, really want to hear about like your goals, that you want to be the greatest of all time, like the Michael Jordan story, like I know you're going to be NBA champion, like you're going to do this, you're going to be the greatest, and all of the hype and the pressure is built up, and then he does it.